Hi, this is Tom Rhodes. Please join me as I scour the four corners of the earth to bring you interesting and intelligent, funny people who will enrich your life with wisdom and laughter. I'll take you to Europe, Australia, all over America. I might take you to the peaks of Machu Picchu, the canals of Amsterdam, the Great Wall of China, or the swamps of Florida, and certainly the many, many comedy clubs and comedy theaters all over the world. Come hang out with me and meet the many interesting people that pop up in my life as I travel the world as a stand-up comedian.
You're listening to Tom Rhodes Radio.
Karate kick, baby.
Rock and roll.
Hello, my honey. Hello, my baby. Hello, my ragtime gal. Hey, Smoochie.
Hey, Tom.
Hi, listeners, and welcome to Tom Rhodes Radio Smart Camp. I am in Minneapolis, and Ashna Rojan, otherwise known as my Smoochie, is AKA Smoochie. Best woman in the world is in Los Angeles. So we had to take a break for a few weeks. I know we put out the episode from Houston last week, but before that, we had a 2-week gap. I think we should catch everybody up. We went to New York City for a week, and then I went to Toronto. We've had a lot of stuff going on in our life. Should we start talking about New York? Have a quick little recap?
Great, yes. New York was amazing.
What were your favorite moments?
Seeing you kill.
Destroying it. Yeah, at the Comedy Cellar and the Comedy Underground, which they own around the corner. And then they also have a room in the Fat Black Pussycat. So the Comedy Cellar's got 3 rooms right on the same block now. And then I did a few sets at the Stand. And then I did the Bennington Show on Sirius XM. But I think the Comedy Cellar, Louis C.K. and Jerry Seinfeld and then several movies have made it popular. Now it's like sold out, 2 shows a night, 7 days a week. But when I was playing there in the late 90s, 98, 99, it was like half empty. It could be a really tough room. People could still smoke cigarettes in it. It was like a smoky jazz club. And I'm glad that I left such a good impression that I have an open door policy. And I've been going there like once or twice a year just to do sets at the Comedy Cellar because it's Coolsville.
And the cool thing is that whenever you go, you can play all 3 clubs.
Yeah, I mean, there's comedians there that...
Not a lot of comedians can do that.
Yeah, not many people can stay away for many years and come back and get the full red carpet treatment. There's guys that have been living there for a few years that can't get sets there, Yeah. But okay, well, I think one of the highlights for me, I think I've told this story before. How I think it was 1999 when Chris Rock hosted the Oscars for the first time, and the policy at the Comedy Cellar, when somebody famous comes in, you can be bumped. The famous person, that's their privilege. They can bump whoever's next and go on. So Chris Rock went on, 1999, comes in and bumps me. And he had just hosted the Oscars for the first time. He's a New York Sun favorite child of the city. And he gets a standing ovation for 5 minutes. He does an hour, destroys, they love him. And then he got a standing ovation when he left. So I've told the story before. I went on after him and like half the room were getting their coats and nobody's listening. They're paying their bills and stuff. And I said, Chris Rock, ladies and gentlemen, a bona fide superstar. I mean, the man hosted the Oscars. Did you watch Chris host the Oscars? I actually watched the Oscars in my underwear eating a tuna fish sandwich, which is actually how I had watched that Oscars that year. But so that memory is in my mind, burned forever. So twice during this New York week, I was bumped because Amy Schumer wanted to do a set, and I had to go on after her. So she gets a partial standing ovation. And you saw upstairs in the Olive Tree Cafe how like these obsessed fans were like just staring at her. Remember that woman?
Oh my God. And that was so scary that I was wondering if she saw that or not. So I told her, hey, that woman is really looking at you. And then she said, yeah, it's a bit too much.
Yeah, like...
and she came to the table twice. Once, oh my God, I just want to tell you, you're so beautiful. And she said a few more things. And Amy was very cautious. And then the second time she came to the table, then she talked to you and said, hey, hi, were you just a comedian who was on stage? And I think she just wanted to come closer to Amy Schumer.
Yeah, of course. And she knew I was the comedian on stage because she shook my hand. She stuck out her hand and I shook it as I walked on the stage. So...
and it was a little bit weird because she didn't really look like, oh, this person is a little bit crazy. She was kind of pretty and stylish.
Looked like a normal woman, about 40, something like
very
that.
Stylishly
like a regular...
and, pretty and, kind of like status looking, right? So you think, okay, this woman is not going to harass anybody. But she was clearly harassing.
Well, what we've learned in this modern world is the crazy motherfuckers could be anybody. And we'll get to that, the current event atrocities later on in the episode. But yeah, so what we're talking about, Amy is sitting there at the comedian's table, and that woman was just locked in a death stare at her. She couldn't take her eyes off of her. So like when Amy bumps me and she goes on, she gets like a, I'd say about 30% of the room stood, because I mean, Amy's from New York and people love her. She's on top of the world. I mean, I know she got critical reviews for that leather special, but I didn't see it. But, she killed that movie, Trainwreck.
Yeah, and that movie just came. Oh, sorry.
And I don't know if I've ever told this story. I took my mom to see Trainwreck in the theater, and I wanted to tell Amy this story, but I didn't get a chance to. The opening scene, she's having sex with this big muscular guy. And my mom is this little sweet religious woman. And after they have sex, he goes to the bathroom and they're having a dialogue. And then he comes out of the bathroom and his dick is still erect and there's a towel hanging on it, which was a pretty funny scene. But sitting next to my religious mother, who was cringing and very uncomfortable, to me, I was laughing the loudest in the theater just because my mom was so uncomfortable, So,
yeah.
You got to respect a comedian that gets hot and then writes a movie and then the movie's a success by every measure. And, people have sophomore efforts fail all the time. I mean, you got to respect Amy Schumer for what she did, regardless of a few things that might fall flat after the initial success. But so she goes on and she's working on new material. So she did like a 15, 20-minute set and she ends with this 5-minute. So I'm in the back and I'm watching her and like, she gets that. There's people who are standing for her, clapping when she goes on. You can just see the love in their eyes for her. And so I'm reminded of this moment of when I had to follow Chris Rock in 1999, when everybody adores that person who's on stage. And I'm thinking, oh, shit, right?
Yeah.
And then she did a 5-minute bit to end her set where she talked about her father. He's got MS. He's in a wheelchair. She said he's a mean person, but he's her father and she loves him and she's got a lot of money now and she wanted to do something nice for him. So she has been paying someone to jack him off. And she goes, is that wrong? You guys raise your hand if you think that's wrong. And so her whole last 5 minutes of her set was about paying somebody to jack off her father. So I'm watching her and now I'm not nervous and afraid anymore. And I do think it's great to have a blast of fear as a comedian because it makes you think on your feet, or even in life, I guess. I mean, just, we're animals programmed to sense danger. It's just, I don't know, you have a blast of fear. I think it can turn out good sometimes. So I'm sitting there worried about having to go on after this person who is absolutely adored by the audience. And she's doing this bit about paying someone to jack off her father. And then I couldn't wait to get on stage. And I opened, you saw it. It was such a killer opening. They introduced me and I came out kind of timid and shy. And I said, hi,
Yeah, because everybody, all the comedians had their eyes on you, thinking, oh my God, how is he going to follow up on that?
Right.
And Amy Schumer was also watching, checking out how you would do.
It was great. So I could walk up there kind of acting timid and shy. And I go, hi, everybody. Please forgive me. I'm a little nervous. This isn't my normal job. My normal job is I jack off Amy Schumer's father. And I'm not used to working under such bright lights. Normally, I work to candlelight with a little soft Sinatra in the background. And the friggin' place exploded. It was so funny, man. And so then I had to follow her a couple days later, and I couldn't wait to go on after her. It was really great. When you can turn something like that into, I think I learned that at the comedy store in Los Angeles. When somebody's killing before you, if you take something that they were just talking about that's really weird and mention it. I forget who, I did this with somebody who talked about like some date that they were on with somebody who was, I forget what it was. Like they had gone on a date with a Hooters waitress and the date was really weird and creepy. And I said that I met him at Hooters and then we went on a date that didn't go very well. So anyway.
And usually when you do the Hong Kong bit, people are saying something about that, because it's so shocking.
Yeah.
But they don't really make a joke out of it. I haven't encountered that one. But you usually say something like, SP, or just repeat a funny word that you just have in that bit.
Yeah, Mark Maron went on after me at the Comedy Store one time and said, this is, 6 months ago or something. And he said, Tom Rhodes, ladies and gentlemen, with his shitting the bed dismount.
Yeah, that's the things that I hear from comedians. But nobody ever made a really funny jokes with tagline like you did with following up
Amy Schumer.
Amy Schumer, yeah. And then you went into a character and then you made the joke. And while people are laughing and relieving, like, oh my God, we love Amy so much. A bit of that laugh is also love for Amy.
I also think it's funny, though, to recognize that it's somebody's job now to jack off Amy Schumer's father. I mean, there's prostitutes and then there's whatever, but that, I mean, is she writing checks for that? Is it cash? Yeah. Anyway, so the other highlight from New York, we stayed at our friend's apartment on Bowery Street, down by Little Italy. So you yelped all the best places to eat in Little Italy and Chinatown and Lower Manhattan. And then from there, it's just a short walk, Bowery to Prince Street, and then to MacDougal, take a right. It was like, and then at night, after we would hang out all night, we would walk home, this lovely walk, MacDougal to Prince and to Bowery. Remember how? Yeah,
it was a really great location. And I remember the first day when we were there, we soon enough discovered that it was impossible to be doing a lot during the day because all these sets go on until 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, and then you hang out with all the comedians.
Yeah, Dave Attell's there, everybody's there hanging out till like 4 in the morning.
Like 4 in the morning. And then, so we discovered very, very soon, and this is every day, it's a gig every day. And we soon discovered that we had to sleep in until, noon or 1 o'clock, get ready, dressed, and just have, and get ready for the day. So after the second day, I said, you know what, Tom, it's too bad that you cannot plan a lot of things like, podcasts with people or, radio shows or whatever. Let's just make this a culinary trip. and then
Yeah.
and then we just change it to, okay, we got the sets at the night, so that's good enough. Let's just eat a lot. And then the whole week we just ate a lot.
It was great. So we'd sleep late and we'd shower. We'd have time to have like a really nice dinner and then go back to the clubs where I was doing like 3 to 5. I think one night I did 6 sets in a night and then stay up till 4 a.m. It's magic.
I think my favorite moments of the trip was meeting all these new people. And having great conversations with them, I had a great conversation with Michael Che, and it was just so fun that night.
Oh, yeah.
We were talking about, lots of things. And so that was kind of like a nice conversation that you just go deeper into a subject. And it was nice to meet, oh my God, I forgot his name.
I really like...
Who was with that? Chris Robinson? Is that his name?
Craig Robinson.
Greg Robinson, yeah. He was super nice.
Sweetheart.
And then it was, I think my highlight was to meet, to get to know Dave Attell better.
Yeah.
Because I always say, okay, hi, how are you? Great. That's it. And I love conversations because you really share some kind of art together. And, gladly he said, let's hang out. And we had late night, AM dinner with him and...
Oh my God, and Artie Lang. I totally forgot about that. We went to a diner at like 4 a.m. and had like a big late night dinner. That was fun. And
with a lovely girl who was from Ireland, I think. Irish? Wales? I forgot.
I forgot too.
But she was from a big family. I really like that part. But anyways, it was really nice to get him know a bit.
No, I love Dave Attell like a brother. That was great, spending time with him. But Michael Che, the first night we saw him, I thought, okay, here's a guy, he's on SNL. I really liked his special that he made. But I didn't get a chance to talk to him. And then the next night, we had a really long, great conversation with him. That's what you're talking about. And I talked with him about Miles Davis, his autobiography, Miles, which is one of my favorite books that I think everybody in show business should read. And I knew so many details about that book. We had a great, long conversation about it. And I love that guy now. Okay, so enough about how fabulous our life is. Let's talk about some of the bad things that are going on in our life. Maybe people would be interested to hear the hardships we're having. Maybe people who don't like us will be happy to hear that everything's not perfect with us. What do you think?
Sure. It is a luxury thing, though. We have a luxury complaint.
Yeah, so what's been happening for about the past month, I think maybe 2 months, is our downstairs neighbor. We live on the top floor of an apartment building. Our downstairs neighbor keeps complaining about the noise, specifically that we are stomping around our apartment. And this guy just moved in to the apartment, and so he keeps calling the security. And you have to, the number for the building, you have to actually press 1 for an emergency. So when we walk around our apartment, because Ashna is a hygiene freak, she doesn't allow anybody to wear shoes in the apartment. You want to say quickly why?
No shoes. Well, outside there's all kind of stuff like dog shit and hair from other people. Ew. And then it's underneath your shoes. And then you bring it in the house and you walk everywhere. And then late at night, you are going to go to bed and you're in your pajamas. And then you walk around with your pajama and your feet or socks or whatever. And when you go to bed, then all that dirt, that nasty stuff is in your bed.
I never realized that. I never thought of the dog shit that you're stepping on sidewalks. I like it because it's like we're Asian, I like living like Asian people. I think that's kind of cool.
I think everybody should take off their shoes in the house. There's a lot of shit in the street.
So we don't wear shoes in the house, and sometimes we even wear slippers. And this guy keeps sending the security to our apartment that we are stomping. And then he's like keeping a log that, at 5:30 p.m., we were stomping around. At 10:20 p.m., we were stomping around. This is what the security guy tells us. So we've had the people that are in charge of the building manager, come to our apartment. We've shown them that we don't wear shoes in the house. And we have a one-bedroom apartment. And it's not like we're walking constantly back and forth. So they just made us this offer that either we can move to a different apartment or they can move to a different apartment. And we love our apartment. I'm not going to move. And the complaints, we looked it up. The Los Angeles police rules for noise complaints, 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. is what's known as the quiet hours. And their rule is a long, continuous, obnoxious noise for 10 minutes. Mm-hmm. So we can blast Led Zeppelin for 9 minutes and 38 seconds, and we're still not violating it. But this guy...
Well, to be honest, it also depends on decibels.
Yeah.
We could play Led Zeppelin, but we couldn't play Led Zeppelin very, very loud.
Well, what's funny about this is all of the places I lived in the past, when I was drinking and smoking and doing drugs and blasting music until 4 o'clock in the morning, not giving a fuck about any neighbor, I never had any complaint. Now I'm older, I'm married, and I'm sober, and we are literally walking softly and aware of every movement. When we watch movies on TV where we keep the volume low, like we're watching a movie.
And we are readers. We don't have kids running around.
Yeah.
We don't wear high heels.
So, I think it's a mark of maturity.
And we are out of town all the time.
Yeah, we're out of town half the time. This neighbor doesn't realize how good they have it. And, I think it shows how I am actually maturing, because if this would have happened like 10 years ago, 20 years ago, I would have bought a pogo stick. I would just be bouncing constantly. Okay, I'm done with the pogo stick. Now I'm going to jump rope for 30 minutes. I think we've been handling this really well. But
really well, because I was feeling stalked when you were out of town. He complained 3 times in 2 days. I just got back out of town, and the security guy was outside and knocked on the door a few times. I felt a little bit stalked. I'm relaxing in my house. Violated my freedom a bit. Yeah, I just want to be home by myself, and I don't expect anybody. Then I don't want to open the door. But when a security guy is in front of the door, you have to open the door, Right. Well, and also, I have to go on the road 2 weeks a month to make this exorbitant rent. And when I'm home, I want to be able to enjoy my place. And we are buying a product from these people that is a livable, comfortable apartment. That's why we're paying this rent. And this guy is kind of harassing us. And he's kind of out of control because he looked up the previous tenant of his apartment and contacted them. Oh, right. And asked them if we had been a problem. And they said that they heard footsteps, but they just decided to live with it. And then the manager of the building, he went over her because she's saying she's doing all she can do. That's not... And also, they have been monitoring the sounds. And on a random time on the day, they would go to his apartment and listening to us, and listen how bad the sound was. And they said, you know what? It's just normal living, normal footsteps. Yeah, you hear something, but that's the way it is. So the guy disagreed. He disagreed, and he went over the building manager and contacted her boss, and he's contacted the CEO of the property. And so this guy is obsessed and out of his mind and completely harassing us with this, constantly calling
the security, and apparently he's sensitive to noise. But we noticed when I was home on Monday, and you've noticed since then, that he's not running his air conditioning. He's keeping his front door open and his, I guess he's got all of his windows open. And
his television is on, so it's kind of weird that he complains.
The people next to him are smoking pot on their balcony and playing hip-hop music. So that's
a funny thing, because they just moved in last week, and they are really loud.
Yeah.
They just had friends over. I just saw them with friends over, and they were just talking really loud on the balcony. And I think he might have said something, because now it's really quiet.
Great. If he gets someone else to complain about.
I know.
It was funny. I was home Monday, and remember that you and I were watching Netflix, and all the power went out in the building, and then there was a big blackout in this area. We live in Los Angeles, and I just turned to you and I said, I wonder who he's going to complain to about this. So anyway.
Yeah, well, I decided to do what in the other episode I said about cope with things in a stylish way. That's what Seneca said. So I decided to see this different and more solution-based, because we have been talking to the manager maybe 5 times now, and he keeps complaining, and we keep saying, hey, we don't stomp. We keep saying stuff, hey, we don't party. What's going on? And it goes back and forth, back and forth. So I decided to be more solution-based and see this also as an opportunity to get to know the management a little bit better, which is always good, So what I'm now going to do is, instead of replying, oh, we're not stomping around, I'll just say, yeah, we live our lives. We know we have a downstairs neighbor. We take that into account. But yeah, sometimes I drop a shampoo bottle. And yes, during the day, I like to walk around my house.
Yeah, I mean, we are living our life, and we're not. I think if you're sensitive to noises, you shouldn't move into an apartment building.
Yes. So what I'm trying to say is, in a stylish way, I would just say, hey, you know what? I understand completely. He can complain whenever something is going on. But, however, he can only complain between 11 and 7 o'clock in the morning.
The quiet hours.
Quiet hours. That's a good deal. And I should keep repeating that, instead of making this a whole fight, and then we're stressed, and then, we're not happy in our lives.
Yeah, but
just like what Seneca says.
I like that, Smoochie. And I think you and I have dealt with this very maturely, that we're not out of spite stomping around and jumping rope and like going, fuck this guy, and slamming doors and stuff. It's like we pretty much have shirked it off, but we are somewhat walking around very softly so that this hammerhead isn't sending the security to our door.
Well, the one part that I like about it is that the management, we invited them in our house, loved our apartment so much.
She told me when she shows apartments to people now, she describes our apartment and what we did with the bookshelves and the vinyl records. And she asked if she could take photos of it. So we'll see.
So that's a good thing that came out of it.
Yeah, you're right. So
and now they like us even more, and I like that. That makes me happy.
We're good people. So we'll keep everybody updated on that ongoing saga. And the other piece of bad news this week, I found out from Netflix, because I did my first special on Netflix. I wanted my next special to be on Netflix because it's kind of the thing now. And I just found out from my manager, Netflix said that they don't need any more white guys.
Well, wait. It sounds like that you say your manager said, "Hey, I got Tom Rhodes here," and then they said, "No, we don't want any white guys." It's more that they already have said, we don't want white guys at this moment.
Well, it kind of was shocking to me to find out that I'm a white guy. you think white guy, you think, Trump voter, guy who's never traveled, never read any books. And like Tony Woods calls me the second most angry black man that he knows. And I think that's one of the greatest compliments I've ever been given. Maybe Tony Woods should do my publicity.
I like that. It's funny.
But it's funny how you and I have seen twice Aziz Ansari say in interviews that white people are a thing of the past. So it's kind of an interesting situation to be, spend your life traveling, being liberal and open-minded, and then like, white people? What? Huh? How am I? I'm Tom Rhodes. I defy categorization.
That's interesting, because that's what a lot of people feel when they're not part of a group, but they look alike. That's how minorities feel. For example, when I'm in a group of people and I'm the only brown person, I represent all the brown people.
Right. Okay.
When I'm in a multicultural, then I represent Indian people and, etc. So I guess now you feel a little bit how it feels like being categorized.
Right. Okay. Well, I guess maybe I should be happy that I'm finally being discriminated against.
Hey, that's a good premise for a joke.
Yeah, that is great. I
like how Bill Burr turns it around and he says, that white men have privileges.
Yeah.
And then he says, yeah, look at me. This is what you're aiming for. I think it's brilliant how he turns that around. But I like that premise, though. What you just said.
I'm finally.
You should write it down.
Okay, Smoochie, I will.
What did you say? I'm finally being discriminating.
I finally got my dream come true. I'm finally being discriminated against. I've always stuck up for the little guy and the underdog, and been overly conscious of discrimination and people being treated unfairly. So I guess somewhere I'm finally whatever. It's ridiculous. But the good news is my new CD finally comes out, my new album. I'm not even going to make CDs this time. I might press some vinyl.
Oh, cool.
Do a small batch of vinyl records because I love vinyl so much. But it's going to come out sometime in the next few days. We're putting it out now.
Ashna is working on it.
Ashna's working on it. It's called All Hail Laughter. I recorded last June in Minneapolis. Here, I'm in Minneapolis right now, and at Acme Comedy Club. It was before Trump got elected, and then I recorded in February in San Francisco. So the San Francisco show is going to be the actual album, and then the Minneapolis show is going to be the bonus because there's 45% different material. After Minneapolis, after that show, the Orlando Pulse nightclub shooting had just happened. So I was very emotional about it, and I had all these thoughts about guns. And then also Prince had just died. So I got this 5-minute hunk on Prince and when I got invited to Paisley Park in 1995 and all that. And then February in San Francisco is the post-Trump election. So now I can retire this material and start working on the next hour, which you and I have been talking about.
And we already been working on it. You already have eight jokes. You're already trying out. Yeah. I'm really happy about that.
That's great. So, I was thinking so hard about, I'm got to get this set tight for Netflix. And now that they don't want to do a special, fuck it. I'm just, I've got it recorded on this live thing. If you want to support the Tom Rhodes world listener, please go to iTunes and buy my new live album.
And to be honest, I wouldn't. I know I'm not. I'm not the artist, but from a wife's point of view, I would have preferred an album than a Netflix special. Not a lot of people know is that when you do a Netflix special, all the jokes are you sell your rights to the jokes.
Yeah, right. I didn't make a single dime off of my last Netflix special because they had to recoup the production cost.
Yeah.
And they spent like $8,000 on to rent a crane for the opening shot over the crowd, which, was that necessary?
But you don't have any control over, because you get one producer who comes over and he says, "Hey man, I want to produce your show for Netflix." And then you go, "Oh my God." And then they do it, and then they sell it to Netflix. Netflix gives them a portion of money. And then they say, "Hey, I gotta first, cover my cost." And then you see, oh my God, the stage manager got 10 times more than the artist. What the fuck?
Well, that was the thing. I asked them for the money breakdown to see if last year or earlier this year, I guess it was end of last year, and it had the breakdown of all the costs for everything for the special, and like the woman who did the makeup, the people who did the seating, everybody got paid more than I did, and it took me years to write all those jokes. How is that possible that the cameraman or the makeup person makes more than the comedian who wrote all the jokes and is the reason that everybody's there?
Exactly.
The good news is I make money off of my live albums. And so, that has been my dream since I was a kid, because I grew up listening to comedy albums, and, so I have the new one. So This is my 4th live album, and now I can work on the next hour. Like I always say, the answer to everything is write better jokes. And the guy who's emceeing, who I really like, Earl Elliott, here in Minneapolis, he was asking me all these questions about comedy and everything. And I was telling him tonight, you have to make yourself undeniable. You don't want to ever be pigeonholed as, you're a white comic, you're a black comic, you're an Asian, you're a woman, you're whatever. You just want to be so great that it's undeniable that you get asked to do TV programs or specials or whatever. So, just... it's time to write all new shit.
Yeah, and I just told you lately, let's stop calling them jokes. Let's start calling them opinion or essays or
stories. Yeah. So, I don't know. I might work on a one-man show about my story, to maybe, because the book, hopefully I'll get published before the end of the year. So, I'm happy.
Yeah. And we
was
still
was that believable?
And we still have the rights to our jokes.
That's great. I own all the rights I didn't have to sell the rights to these jokes for the special. So, actually I'm sitting pretty. So, anyway, and I'm very proud of it. I think this is probably the best album I've done so far. So
I think it's cool because San Francisco was such a different time, and San Francisco is a great crowd. And then the Minneapolis show, there was a lot of Prince material that you had to share that one. So because first we wanted to do the Minneapolis as the album, and then
this album was originally going to be called All Hail Minnesota. Yeah. And the audiences here are also great, very smart, wonderful, and there's always international people in the audience because of the University of Minnesota. Remember Minha Pham from Hanoi? She went to the University of Minnesota. Like, they always have international students. Cool. And then the San Francisco audience is always multi-ethnic, multinational people. And I wanted to call this album Libtard, but you wouldn't let me.
No, you wanted to call the whole album Libtard, and I said, no, don't do that. Just do the CD, CD1 or something. But we changed it. Now it's all Hail San Francisco, All Hail...
No, All Hail Laughter.
I know, but one of the CD is All Hail San Francisco, and the bonus CD is All Hail Minneapolis.
Oh, you didn't tell me that.
Oh, well, I just named it. And, people, we are a mom and pop business. May I repeat that? And I did every single thing. So from the editing of the tracks to the final product, and it was a lot of work because in the meantime I had to learn a lot of stuff that I didn't know before, and I even did the artwork. The photo is done by Minnie Tucker in New York, and we absolutely love the photo, and it looks gorgeous. So it's almost finished, and I just want to say, if you want to support us, go to patreon.com, Tom Rhodes Radio Smart Camp.
Perfect. Yeah, you can support the podcast at patreon.com, or you can buy the live album. And we are a mom and pop business, and sometimes mom surprises pop.
What is this?
So, okay, let's talk about some other different bad news.
Wow, what is this podcast going to be called? Bad news? What do you mean? Oh my God. Can I mention first of all that you say the bad news and you start about our neighbors, and I say, you know what? And I'm looking at in a positive way. I'm saying, well, you know what? This is great. We can get to know the managers better. This thing happened, and I say, oh, you know what? At least we get to keep our right. You see that you are the bad news bringer, and I'm
right,
changing
okay.
it around to make it positive.
Okay, you're right. So what? We should call this the bright side of things. It's true.
Yin and yang.
Yin and yang. So they had that terrible shooting in Northern Virginia of the Republican baseball practice. Some whack job left-wing guy goes, and fortunately he didn't kill anybody, but there's just too many batshit crazy lunatics with access to guns in this country. And it's interesting, the reaction after that. We were in San Antonio last week, and I'm flipping through the channels, and Fox News, Sean Hannity, that night, the night of the shooting, he was broadcasting from the baseball field where the shooting happened.
Is that the Republican guy?
Yeah, well, Fox News is all Republican, and the blood on the grass probably was still wet, and this guy's out there, and the whole show was about left-wing hate, and he's saying this is left-wing hate is why this happened, and the guy was blaming Kathy Griffin. He said it's Kathy Griffin's fault, and talked about her doing the photo with the decapitated head of Trump, and Kathy Griffin, she made her mark in show business by talking about pop culture and doing jokes about Taylor Swift and stuff. And an absolute career-killing move to do the photo with the Trump head, which was a total stupid thing to do.
Why do you say it's stupid? I don't understand. Isn't that free speech?
Well, I mean, but she's not a political comedian, and she's not like some tough punk rock chick.
What do you mean? Why are you categorizing her? She's a comedian. She can do even if she's a comedian. That's where it should stop.
Well, I agree with you. Anyone should be able to do whatever they want. But her specialty is making pop culture jokes. And then she's on this press conference crying her eyes out, apologizing. And then 4 days later, some whack job left-wing guy shoots these Republicans. And then Fox News is blaming her for the shooting. So I feel bad for her. Is what I'm saying.
Is it officially?
It was so she did this photo blunder, and that's bad enough. She's going to have the repercussions for that. I'm sure I saw her crying her eyes out on the press conference, and then now she's being blamed for this shooting. It's like, remember when Columbine happened and they were blaming fucking Marilyn Manson because they listened to his music? And then they were showing, the Madonna at the woman's speech. And he's like, remember these moments of left-wing hate? And it's like...
Wait a minute. Can you pause for a second, Tom? Who is Sean Hannity?
He's this Fox News guy. He has a show on Fox News.
Yeah, so I don't want to discuss Fox News content.
Okay. Well, anyway, it's like they're stirring up a civil war in this country, and a whole show dedicated to left-wing hate is kind of disturbing.
Yeah. So my question for you is, do you think that the thing that Kathy Griffin did, is that officially a threat to the president?
They said it could be interpreted that way, and apparently the FBI went to talk to her.
Okay, so she did something illegal.
No, I don't think so. Isn't that free speech? If you can burn an American flag, you can show the, doll head of a president. I don't know. Anyway, it just weird shit.
So Kathy Griffin did that. She gets so punished by a lot of people.
Yeah.
And then Bill Maher went on his program and said the N-word.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really
bad. I think what he did was
me
worse. To appropriate the N-word, I'm sorry, white people can't use the N-word. I mean, even when I'm reciting rap lyrics, I don't say that word.
Can't.
You hum when you get to that part.
Exactly, you can, yeah.
And then the said this, and then the pulled out his gun, and the So, but yeah, he's her career takes a big whack, and Bill Maher didn't get in trouble for that.
That's too bad that she got so much harassment for it.
Ice Cube went on the next Bill Maher episode and gave a really nice speech about it. He said that to black people, every time we hear that word, it's like a knife is stabbing us. And that's why you're not allowed to use that word.
Oh, I didn't know that. So he apologized
I thought that
again or something?
He did
Of
apologize.
course, he should have. Yeah. It's so bad he did that. I guess when you were having a program so many years, it just... There are a lot of things that you just say live on air. But I'm just thinking it's live, right? He had it for so many years. So don't you think he should have been a little bit trained by now how he talks?
No, I mean, I can understand it. It's like, as a comedian, he was thrown a softball. When you, like in baseball, when someone throws you a big, fat, slow softball, you smack the shit out of it. The guy who he was interviewing was from Nebraska. And he said, you should come Bill Maher said, I should spend more time in Nebraska. And the guy said, yeah, you should come. You should work in the fields with us. So that, to a comedian, is a big, fat softball that you can smack the shit out of. I mean, he was just trying to be quick off the top of his head.
Right, but if you, as a person, don't say the N-word in your private life, you wouldn't say it. You wouldn't,
True.
So,
yeah, true.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a good point.
You wouldn't say it to me either when we're privately in our house because it's such a bad word. So for him to do the baseball, softball, whatever you say, that it comes out that quick, says a little bit something. So.
Well, it's an interesting time in American history because the Roman Empire seems to be crumbling all over the place. There's just like so much hate between conservatives and liberals, and it's like they're, declaring war. They're acting like this is the first shots of the Civil War in the things that I've been reading. This shooting at the Republican thing. And for the record, I would just like to say that I am against any hate-filled asshole shooting any other hate-filled asshole. Just for the record.
Hey, I didn't really follow that news about the guy going after these politicians. But the only thing that I heard, and I thought that was very, very peculiar, was that on NPR, they kept on saying, it is not terrorism. It is classified that it's not terrorism. Or he's not a terrorist or something like that. And I thought, that's odd. He is definitely a terrorist.
He was terrorizing those people.
The sentence was, he's not a terrorist. He's just a lone... How you call that? A lone...
Lone nut, lone wolf.
Lone wolf. And I thought, that's weird. If it was a Muslim guy, it would be a terrorist.
Yeah, but in England, a few days ago, this white guy from Wales drove a van into a crowd of people, Muslim people, in front of a mosque in Finsbury Park, and the English classified that as a terrorist act.
That is terrorist.
So, and then if you look at my John Dillinger newspaper from when he was killed by the FBI in 1934, on the headlines it says, Feds gunned down terrorist. He was terrorizing people.
And I think another argument that they used is that they looked at his situation and they decided that he didn't plan this action. They described his life. Oh, his wife just left him. He just lost his job and all those things. And so it wasn't a planned action. It was done in a outburst.
Spontaneous.
Right. And I thought that's weird that they're giving me that news about this guy, because I never hear say the San Bernardino killer. There was all kind of things that didn't came out immediately about his life. He had also a similar thing that, he lost his job, similar things, that a lot of things go bad in your life and then you feel unhappy and then you want to do something. And for Muslim people, it's very easy to get into the cult of the ISIS. And for white guys, it's easy to get into the cult of the, whatever extreme group is out there that is not being judged as terrorism, but I think it is. It is the perspective is different, and that makes me a little bit afraid, that they said about this guy at the press conference or whatever it was, yeah, he just lost his job, his wife left him, so he did it more in an outburst and it wasn't planned, so it's not terrorism. That's so odd.
Well, there's just so many people filled with hate now, and it's so common for people to write, evil shit on their Facebook and social media that, like, a guy like that, no one saw the warning signs. They just, it's another angry guy who hates Trump, and the Republicans. But to blame it on anything other than the fact that guy was a whack job, unhinged character who lost his shit, instead of blaming, I think it's really dangerous waters that the United States is entering in for people to see, one side or the other as the absolute enemy.
Yeah, and maybe the enemy now is job, unemployment, and divorce.
Yeah. So let me just say this one thing, because I'm in Minneapolis, and Philander Castille was the black guy that was killed by the cop last year, and the cop just got off a couple days ago. The jury acquitted him, and then they released the video, and there was a little girl in the back seat. The guy was following to the letter T everything that someone should do when they're stopped by the police. He said, I have a permit to carry a gun. And the cop says, don't pull it out. And maybe he was reaching back for his permit or whatever. And then the cop panics and unloads his gun and shoots him 7 times. And he had a permit to carry a concealed weapon. And the fact that the NRA isn't having a big outburst right now over this, saying gun owner rights. The guy was a gun owner. He had a permit. Is pretty fucked up. And then that video, you see the little kid get out of the car. It's heartbreaking.
Yeah, I didn't see the video.
Anyway,
I don't know if the NRI is supposed to say anything, if I think about it, because it's an incident that happened, but the NRI speaks out more when political question comes up, if guns,
if there's any restriction should be put on gun ownership. Yeah.
So right now it wasn't.
Well, it's the just for propaganda purposes, the police should kill a white person once in a while.
Haha, funny. That's not good to
Well,
say.
sorry. It's a tough thing to make a joke about, and I'm not being funny about it. I thought and the reason I bring it up was because last year that Philander Castille being killed, and then there was a guy in Louisiana that got choked in front of the convenience store. They happened just a few days apart. Those were the two incidences that made me write my Black Lives Matter joke about the condiments. So that's the whole reason I bring it up.
Oh, good. So you're just having a conversation and see where it ends, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's how strongly I felt about it last year. These police killings.
Great. I think you should write an essay after this podcast about it. I want to share another thing about this case is that, right after it happened, I told you, the first thing I said was, the problem is the police force. They're getting trained like that. They just have a bad training. And then the next day, Trevor Noah said the same thing. So I was kind of like, yeah. But my point is this. I remember when I was doing my first year of psychology, and there was this really funny, crazy professor that I took lessons from, critical psychology and also criminal psychology. And what was very clear in the beginning was that the police department, the justice system, is not working together with psychology or with science. There's some kind of vendetta, for a long time, because they want to do it their own way. And then psychology gives them advice, and they don't want to know that stuff until years later, right? For example, did you know in the beginning, when you have a lineup, like The Usual Suspect, that movie?
Yeah, the police lineup.
Yeah, the police lineup. Did you know for years, this was so wrongly done? For example, if the description was that the guy was short, they would have a lineup with a short guy and the rest were tall guys.
Huh.
Things like that. Or that the police officer would ask the victim who have to identify the person, and that the police officer would say, "Is it number 3?" And then she would say, "Oh, I don't know." And then he would say, "Are you sure?" That he would only say that by one person, just to be very suggestive.
Right.
All these things happened for years and years, even though science already, was common sense that doesn't work like that. So what I'm saying is, yes, I do think the training really, really has to be improved.
I agree. Another thing is Minnesota is famous for being nice, and they're very proud of, you always hear Minnesota nice, Minnesota nice. They're very, that's like their natural resource here. They're proud of how nice they are in Minnesota, but it wasn't very nice that they let that cop get away with shooting Philander Castille 7 times.
Well, I just heard a very interesting interview, and the person said, we allow our police force to do that. We told them, you get a gun, you have the right to kill somebody in these circumstances. So what the guy did, according to our law, the guy didn't do anything wrong. So the problem lies in the law and in the police force training. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, it's like those video games you used to play. There was a great, I always liked the gun video games. I don't like guns in real life, but I always loved the video games where, like, you got a pistol and you're like a cop and you're in the bank, and then it's always like a woman pops up. There's always these moments
with a red dress.
Like an innocent person pops up. You got bad guys all over that you're shooting them, and then, you're in the moment, and then someone pops up to the left and you turn and shoot them, and then it's a innocent woman or something. The guy failed the video game, but unfortunately it wasn't a video game. It was, this guy lost his life, but the guy failed the police training moment.
I think actually the police force is giving a wrong training. I think they should embrace and get together with all the science groups and show them the training. And every group, like, psychology, philosophy, even ethical board, all the board, they should look at it, comment on it. They should get the feedback back and think, oh my God, let's perfectionize this training.
Yeah,
I think that's what should be happening.
Well, yeah, as long as there's nut jobs going crazy and shooting people out of nowhere. Flint, Michigan, the guy went to the airport and started stabbing some cop the other day. I mean, I don't know if they're going to change anything as long as these random nut job people keep popping out of nowhere.
Yeah, the police force, I would imagine, is a very proud, powerful. They have a really different culture there, and I think that's one of the reasons also that they don't want, they don't change their training too much, because they have some, maybe they have an attitude like, hey, we're doing the best we can and blah blah blah.
Yeah. So, well, let's talk about happier things, shall we?
Finally, Tom Rhodes.
Yay.
Yay.
Do you have any happy news to share?
Ooh, let me think about it. I love my house. I don't know, babe. You took me by surprise.
Okay. Well, I wanted to talk about the book that I'm reading now. Just a quick, short thing. And I'm reading this book because we're going to Europe for all of July. So I go home next week. Last week of June, we're in LA. And then we got a month. Going to be in Paris for a week. I'm playing in Paris on July 7th. Please, everybody, cash in your frequent flyer miles and come on over. I'd love to see you in Paris. Then I'm in Amsterdam, July 19th to the 22nd at Toomler. And then I got a week in Ireland. And then the first week of August, I'm in Oslo, Norway. And then the end of August, I go to Sydney, Australia. So getting ready for my Europe trip, I'm reading this book. It's called Paris, the biography of a city. And the first 50 pages was really boring. It was about the Romans and the, agricultural developments and, protective walls and the Vikings coming in. And I guess once it hit the Vikings, then there was finally some action and some violence. They're talking about this one area of Paris where they used to hang the executed people. And I don't know why I thought this was happy news. The reading Voltaire, I learned about the Bartholomew Day massacre. There was the royals of Paris. There was these Huguenots were in a different part of France, and they hated each other's guts. And the French royalty in Paris invited all of these Huguenots for a wedding. That one of the people was going to marry this, daughter of the Huguenot chief or whatever, and they slaughtered all of the Huguenots. It's just this big massacre. So
wow.
Here's this quote. I want to read you from this book. The mutilated rain. I don't. It's weird. I guess this is like a really depressing episode. Sorry, everybody.
No, it's not.
The mutilated remains of the Huguenot leader Coligny.
Oh, that sounds happy.
All famously found their way there. King Charles IV, visiting the site in the aftermath of the St. Bartholomew massacre to view Coligny's remains rotting on the scaffold, is alleged to have muttered to his gagging courtiers that the body of a dead enemy never smells bad. Isn't that cheerful?
Wow. No. Wow. Gagging.
Well, I'm really excited about... Oh, and I forgot to tell you this. We're going to be in Paris for a week. I want to take a side trip to Giverny, which is where Monet lived, and Monet painted the famous water lilies. And I looked it up on Google Maps, it is an hour and 20-minute drive from Paris.
Is it close to the Champagne region?
No, I think it's in the opposite way. If we go to the Champagne region, I'm going to have to start drinking again.
Is that a threat?
No, it's a free spin.
Does that mean I can never go to the Champagne region?
No, I would love to go back to the Champagne region and walk where Joan of Arc escorted Charles VII down the center aisle at the Reims Cathedral. It's cool to walk in the steps of Joan of Arc one day. Mm-hmm. What do you want to do in Paris?
Good question. I just want to eat and eat and eat.
Okay.
Well, you that was a joke, haha.
No. I was thinking about, because I only know how to say jambon and fromage, which is ham and cheese.
Jambon and fromage.
So I only eat ham and cheese when I'm in France because that's all that I can pronounce.
Oh, that's funny, because when I say something and I expect you to laugh and you don't, you're already thinking about something else.
Yeah.
And it kind of hurts when you do a joke and you get silent. And you do that a lot when I make a joke, because you're already thinking about something else to say, because you're a comedian.
Right.
So all my jokes will go flat. So in conclusion, I'm funnier than I think.
Bonjour, y'all.
Un jambon et un fromage, s'il vous plaît. Oh, we can have all these nice sandwiches.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be great. So, really looking forward to that. And we're staying on the Champs-Élysées, which they just had some other terrorist incident yesterday.
Should we go to the Louvre this time?
I would, yeah, because the last 2 times we've been to Paris, we went to the d'Orsay Museum, and I prefer the d'Orsay, but I haven't been to the Louvre in years. So let's go to the Louvre this time.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh yeah, we could do that.
Be great. And then the thing that I'm watching the Ken Burns documentary on the Roosevelts. And I've watched 3 of I think there's 4 episodes. And Teddy Roosevelt was such an interesting guy, because we were in San Antonio last week, and at the Menger Hotel is where he recruited the Rough Rider people, where they, when Spain ran Cuba in the Spanish-American War, he went down there and they beat the Spanish. He was an interesting guy. He was New England blue blood guy, went to Harvard, and then his mother and his wife died on the same day. And then he moves to North Dakota, and he becomes this like Western guy. He totally changed. He got over his grief through action. And,
wow.
And then he totally believed in action, because he was like really sickly when he was a kid. And he becomes this like Western guy. And he still talked with his kind of New England accent. And that made the people like him more, because he wasn't trying to pretend to be like them. And, and he's totally Mr. Riding horses. And, the guy, he had some faults. He was racist, and he was totally for war and all this stuff. But really interesting guy. And I've got 1 episode left, and I've enjoyed the shit out of it.
1 episode?
Yeah, so I watched 1.5. I watched 1.5 last night, and then this morning I had like an hour left on it. And when I woke up and watched the first one, then the last hour on part 3.
So that one is highly recommended.
Highly recommended. All the Ken Burns documentaries. Oh, the one, I think I've talked about it before, Unforgivable Blackness, about Jack Johnson. Watch that documentary. That is amazing.
What is it about?
It's about Jack Johnson. He was the first black heavyweight champion from 1909 to 1915. And he was from Galveston, Texas. he drove expensive Italian sports cars and only dated white women in a very racist United States. And like after he beat Jim Jeffries, the favorite, beloved hero, there were like race riots all over America, and they were, things were tense.
I'm still watching Genius.
About Albert Einstein.
National Geographic original series. It's about Einstein. Really amazing and cool, and I just love the series so much. And it's the whole story of Einstein, of course, but also, the Germans and the World War.
Hey, let me ask you this: did you always hear that Albert Einstein was such a genius? He would often leave the house without his pants on. Is that true? Did they show that?
No, the series is based on his life. I don't know if it's all the facts, right? He doesn't seem to be a very confusing person in the series. He's just somebody who is very dedicated to his work, and he had a great imagination.
Well, see, if the Germans hadn't have hated the Jews so bad, he would have stayed in Germany, and they probably would have gotten the atomic bomb first. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I mean, all their great scientists who were Jewish fled the country. So they lost all this great brain power because, they were full of hate and wanted to kill people.
There is, in the last episode that I watched, was he had a fight. He started a fight with his friend Haber. And Haber invented the mustard gas. I don't know, what is it called?
Yeah, mustard gas. We call it mustard gas.
Oh,
yeah.
Mustard gas? Okay, great. So you can see how Haber started it. The whole kind of reasoning and the ethical reasoning behind his mind, why he did it. And then you see Einstein, the opposite, saying that you invented something that you destroyed. You destroy people. And then he says his opinion is, no, I'm saving lives because I'm killing one troop, and then there's no more war because it's just a threat now because we're so powerful. So it's very interesting to see how these scientists think before they make this huge destruction weapon.
No, it's funny because the guy who invented dynamite had the same thought. He thought this weapon is so powerful and so devastating that once it's used, people will never want to fight again.
Yeah.
And that's I think the Nobel Peace Prize was started by that guy. I think I'm not sure. There's some connection with the Nobel Prize and the dynamite inventor, but the guy was very wrong, and the same is true with atomic weapons. People are like, "Wow, let's do that again."
Yeah.
Okay, so can I read you this Theodore Roosevelt quote?
Yes.
This is from the Ken Burns documentary, The Roosevelts. "It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat."
Wow.
I could tell you're very impressed by that.
I like this kid.
I like you, kid. Always have, always
will. So is that his diary?
No, there was some quote. I don't know. He fucked up a lot, but interesting guy. He was a balls out character.
Balls out character.
Get your balls out,
I like
everybody.
that. That's a good word.
So, okay, well, I feel like we saw the bright side of most things, but we talked about some depressing things this episode.
Excuse me, you talked about some depressing things this episode.
Hey, let's give a shout out on a happier note to the wonderful people who are supporting us through patreon.com.
Yay, thank you, Roadsies.
Yay, thank you, Roadsies. Thank you, Miriam. Thank you, Bobby. Thank you, Mark and Tamara. Thank you, Corey. Thank you, Udo.
Thank you, Jasper. Thank you, Alyssa. Thank you, Sam. And thank you, Rodrigo.
Yay, thank you so much for supporting the mom and pop business of... Hey, and we want to give a special shout out to this wonderful couple that came and saw me in San Antonio. What were their names again?
Araceli and David.
Attell. That was her name? What a beautiful name. Attell. It sounds like an Italian artist. So they just had a baby. She had a baby like 7 weeks ago. Like she's fresh off of the baby birthing table. And they're big fans of the podcast. They love my comedy. I talked with them after the show for a really long time. And they were really wonderful people. And you had a brilliant idea. Do you want to tell everybody what you did?
So I wanted to friend request them. Got their name. She put it very nicely in nice handwritten on a napkin. Their names. And the same night, I tried to look them up, but I couldn't find them on the social media. So I Googled their names, and the first thing that comes up is a baby registry. So I thought, hey, let me buy a little tiny thing for them. And I had a really cool T-shirt with Jimi Hendrix in 1967. I thought, hey, we love Jimi Hendrix, and Tom is born in 1967.
Perfect.
So we sent it.
So we bought them a present, these nice people that came to the show. That was a really sweet idea that you had.
And then they found me on the social media. They found us. So now we're connected.
That's great. And they're wonderful people. I hope they hear this. And it was great to meet you. And I should also give a shout out to Kristen, who drove up from Waco to see me. She also listens to the podcast. Brought me some cookies.
Yay, Kristen.
So our listeners are going to make us fat. Anyway, well, I promise to have happier stories on the next episode, and I'm really, really thrilled that I got the new live album coming out, and it's exciting. It's another career milestone.
Tom Rhodes, you are a happy story.
That's why I married you, because you say adorable things that make me feel better about myself. Okay, in closing, do you have any words of wisdom or advice that you'd like to give to the people of the earth?
End your night with a nice cup of chai tea.
That's great. I haven't said that sentence in a long time. Dear listeners, my beloved Rhodesies, it's your old pal Tom. Hey, let me break in here right at the very end just to say a few words that this week's episode took Ashna and I 4 different recordings over Skype over the last 4 days to record this episode for you. And I think the last segment we finished at like 2 or 3 in the morning, and I was getting a little tired and I wasn't reacting to Ashna as well as I should be. I want to just address a couple things real quick about Ashna pointed out that sometimes she makes a joke and I don't laugh. And I think sometimes that's my comedian instinct, where I am so focused on trying to think of jokes and get my next joke in that I miss the fact that she threw a fastball at my head as a joke. And also, I want to praise my wife because, like, the thing she said about the psychological way to react to this person, our downstairs neighbor who keeps making these noise complaints. And I just want to say one of the many things that I love about Ashna is her knowledge of psychology and how she presents these things that she knows. And she has improved my life so much with, nursing me back to health mentally after my dad and my sister died, and just, the way she looks at the world and her understanding of psychology, which is an area I am oblivious to. So, sometimes in life we neglect the people that we love the most. So, I'm laughing at young comedians trying to encourage them and coach them to be better comedians, and yet sometimes I'm oblivious to the fact that my wife just said something hilarious. Anyway, let me also point this out about my amazing, brilliant, genius wife. Something that I love very much about her. About 3 years ago, we were in Washington, D.C. for Valentine's Day, and there was, we had gone to the Newseum. It's the museum all about the news, about 2 days before, and we saw that they were having a lecture on the Lincoln assassination on Valentine's Day. And I said, do you want to do this? Or she said, do you want to do this? And we were both like, oh my God, that we can't think of a better thing to do on Valentine's Day. And we went to this lecture, and the guy was an expert on the assassination, and Ashna and I both just loved every minute of it, And I can't think of anything more romantic than hearing the description of the bullet ripping open Abraham Lincoln's head. I mean, I know that's bizarre, but just the fact that we both love art and knowledge and food and laughter, it was just like a really cool thing to do on Valentine's Day. So I only bring that up in that Ashna also indulges me on a lot of the things that other people might think are weird. Like, we were in San Antonio, and one day I dedicated to going to see the hotel where Robert Johnson first recorded his very first recording sessions in November 1936. It was at the Gunter Hotel. It's on Houston Street. Now it is called the Sheraton Gunter Hotel. And there's a lot of history at this hotel, but the one that concerns me the most, the event, is the fact that Robert Johnson recorded in this hotel room, room 414 to be exact. He recorded all these original compositions, Sweet Home Chicago, Kind-Hearted Woman Blues, so many songs. I think Robert Johnson is the seed that Everything Is Cool grew out of. Rock and roll, all the brilliant guitar players, Hendrix, Keith Richards, Jimmy Page, everybody, credits Robert Johnson with, being the man. And then he had this legendary mystique that Robert Johnson had gone to the crossroads in Mississippi and sold his soul to the devil so that he could have the most incredible, mind-blowing guitar playing style. So, whether or not that's true, the guy's life was really interesting. He also recorded the song Crossroads in room 414 of the Gunter Sheraton Hotel. And that song was made a hit by Eric Clapton. Big hit in the 70s. They still play it on classic rock station. But the song is Robert Johnson's original composition. And if you think about it, the words to that song, going to the crossroads, trying to flag myself a ride, don't nobody know me, everybody pass me by. I think that has a little bit more meaning coming from a black man in Mississippi or Texas in the 1930s than a cute English guy with a little bundle of cocaine in his pocket and a bushy mustache in the 1970s. So, it's great that Eric Clapton, put him on the map, put Bob Marley on the map. But Robert Johnson stands alone for me as just this mythic character. And so Ashna, totally willing to do whatever, my heroes. I have this never-ending search for heroes. And Ashna loves blues, and she's, a fan also. But, of course, it's what I wanted to do. So we go to the Gunter Hotel, and we took a photo in front of the door of room 414, where Robert Johnson recorded all these classic songs. And that is the photo that we used for this episode, the Cheer Up episode. And that is Ashna and I in front of the door of the room that Robert Johnson first recorded. Anyway, thought you might enjoy that little factoid. I love my smoochie. Hey, and promise me your mission, your hobby, whatever you want to call it, for the summer. Express your feelings to the people that you love. Promise me that you'll do that, okay? The world is fucked up. There's 7.5 billion people on the planet Earth, and a lot of them are in a really bad mood right now. So promise me. Say it. Say it out loud right now, listener. I don't want you just nodding your head at me. Speak the words out loud. I promise I will express myself to the people that I love. See? That wasn't so bad. I knew you'd see things my way. So, also, I wanted to elaborate about the first part of the Ken Burns documentary, The Roosevelts. And the first half of it is about Theodore Roosevelt. Teddy Roosevelt is who, here's a knowledge nugget for you, is where the teddy bear comes from. Teddy bears were invented because people loved this president so much, and the teddy bear was invented as some kind of symbol of love for the president. And I slept with a teddy bear until I was probably 10 or 11 years old. Friggin' loved my teddy bear. I tried to give my teddy bear a haircut once. That's how much I loved it. And I snipped its hairs with scissors, and it never looked good again. So had to get a new teddy bear. Anyway, the thing I wanted to say about Teddy Roosevelt is that his life was about perseverance. This guy, so many shitty things happened to him. His wife and his mother died on the same day. He was absolutely destroyed. That made him reinvent himself as this Western wilderness adventurer. The guy definitely had problems. He was pro-war. He became president after William McKinley was assassinated. William McKinley, it's funny, I've done this gig in Arcata, California, and I'm going to do it again, I think, end of September, beginning of October, something like that. In Arcata, in the main square, is a statue of William McKinley. And the last time I performed there, I looked it up, like, why was this guy important? And it turns out William McKinley is the president who first started the American interventionist policies, where the United States acts as the police of the world. And we started going around the world getting in other people's business. And the joke that I made in Arcata is that they should have a statue to the guy who killed him. And, you know, that was a joke. But the also interesting thing about the William McKinley assassination is his bullet wound was not that bad. This actually is not covered in the Roosevelt documentary. This is just something I know that I've read, and it's another knowledge nugget for you. William McKinley's bullet wound was not that bad. The doctors at the time didn't sterilize their hands or wash their hands. So, like, you had a number of different doctors were sticking their dirty fingernail fingers into his bullet hole. And, you know, they're probably smoking cigars and nicotine or whatever else. They had filthy hands digging around in the bullet hole. And the guy got an infection, and that's how he ended up dying. So Teddy Roosevelt, he becomes president. He finishes McKinley's term, and then he's reelected. And then he makes the biggest blunder of his career, because presidents are limited to 2 terms to serve as a president. So he says, I will not seek another term because this will be my second term. And he ends up regretting it. It was a stupid blunder because he was completely adored by the American public. So, you know, he started the Spanish-American, he was a big part of the Spanish-American war, where he, you know, took over Cuba, and then we sent ships and took the Philippines from Spain, and got all of these international holdings, or we colonized the Philippines and Cuba and got all this other land in Texas and wherever. So when his presidency was finished, he's a big game hunter. He was hunting in Africa. He's doing all these different expeditions and stuff. So he's in his late 50s, and he goes on this big river cruise voyage in Brazil with some Brazilian adventurer. And it was called the River of Doubt. They didn't know how long it was. It turns out to be much longer than expected. And they're there for like 48 days. They don't see another human being. Him and his son both contract malaria. Everyone's about to die. They've got no food. And Teddy Roosevelt's son, who's with him on this Brazilian adventure, was a drunk. He was an alcoholic, and he had never really done anything in his life. Turns out he's the one that saves his father and gets him out of Brazil, and had, people carrying him. And it's an amazing story that the drunk loser son ends up being the hero. So it's all about perseverance. It's all about looking on the bright side of things. I know we talked about a lot of negative things in this episode, but I think that was what I wanted to articulate about Teddy Roosevelt. That, he had his faults, but the guy had lived through a lot of heavy shit. And in life, you can't not live to a certain age without experiencing failures, humiliations, heartbreaks, tragedy. It's just normal. It's a part of life. And, rehabilitating yourself mentally and overcoming that and trying to remain a happy person is basically, the secret to life. So cheer up, everybody. It's summer, and the lovely air of right now feels like velvet on your skin. Well, it does here in Minneapolis anyway. So I just wanted to add this little piece. The end song, I've been listening to the Kinks a lot. I've got my Sony Walkman cassette player, and I've got my Kinks Greatest Hits on cassette, and I've been cranking it. This end song is called Sunny Afternoon, and it's a funny song. It's a great summer song, but if you listen to the lyrics, everything bad has just happened to this guy. The tax man has taken everything from him. He can't go sailing. He can't do anything. He's treated his girlfriend cruelly. She's back at her dad's house. The guy is completely desolate and left alone, and all he has left is this sunny afternoon. It's funny. It sounds like a cheerful, happy summer song, but if you listen to the lyrics, the guy's lost everything. But he kept his positive attitude. Anyway, hope you're having a wonderful life wherever you are. And that is the Cheer Up episode. Shalom, amigos, amigas. Long may you run. Boom.
The taxman's taken all my dough and left me in my stately home, blazing on a sunny afternoon. And I can't sail my yacht, he's taken everything I got. All I've got's this sunny afternoon. Save me, save me, save me from this squeeze. I got a big fat mama trying to break me, and I love to live so pleasantly, live this life of luxury, blazing on a sunny afternoon. In the summertime, in the summertime, in the summertime. My girlfriend's running car. I'm gone back to her ma and pa, telling tales of drunkenness and cruelty. Now I'm sitting here, sipping at my ice cool beer, blazing on the sunny afternoon. Help me, help me, help me sail away. Well, give me 2 good reasons why I ought to stay. 'Cause I love to live so pleasantly, live this life of luxury, blazing on a sunny afternoon in the summertime, in the summertime, in the summertime. Ah, save me, save me, save me from this squeeze. I got a big fat mama trying to break me, and I love to live so pleasantly,